Hello and welcome to a very special edition of TV on TV, the Election Night Results Show. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group. Today is Tuesday, May 7th, and we've got a great results show for you today. Before I tell you about it, if you haven't voted yet today, there is still time. Get to the polls by 8 p.m. and your voice will be heard, your vote counted. If you are unsure where you vote, go to www.wheredoivotema.com, put in your address, and double check your polling location before you head out. But don't delay, you've got less than an hour. Still here? Great. Thank you for voting if you're empowered with that right. As I was saying, we've got a great show for you tonight, focused entirely on today's town election and its results. Here on TV, we're going to tell you about the roles of local government, review all the townwide and town meeting candidates with Shayna Penna from the League of Women Voters, interview Sam Mintz from Brookline.News about the news agency's first year on the beat, learn more about ensuring free and fair elections with Town Clerk Ben Kaufman, and then, finally, right here on Brookline Interactive, be the first to report the results of every single race in town. We might even have a special guest. I believe our local democracy is strong. Advocacy organizations have weighed in with endorsements, and billboards for lawn gnomes have sprouted around town. 141 Brookline citizens are running for local office today. 141 people putting their names on the line, ready to volunteer their time for our town. 101 positions will be filled. 12 townwide positions and 89 within town meeting. Nearly every race is competitive. I love elections, and there's so much more to come. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Schoolhouse Rocks meets the 6th floor. Stay tuned.
Each week, youth write, direct, and produce their own live show at BIG. We create opportunities for youth to tell their stories. During a week-long program, kids get the opportunity to learn how to sportscast. At Arts to Work, youth get paid to create their own documentaries under BIG's guidance. During school breaks, BIG hosts kids, K through 12, to write, direct, and star in their own short films. Member shows, some new, and some tried and true. We kicked off the season gathering together as a community. BIG on the big screen. This summer, we made lots of new friends.
But for now, today's vote revealed that we will be putting forward this candidate for our school name.
Roland Hay! 208 yes, 4 no, 23 abstentions. The motion passes.
Good job.
Big was there for you. Be there for us. Please donate. This summer, Big will host a week-long summer workshop for kids ages 8 through 12 years old, where they will have the opportunity to learn how to recreate a scene from a popular movie by designing the set, building it, creating a script, operating the cameras, and editing it all together. If you have a child who is interested in making magic through movies or just wants to have fun, visit our website, www.brooklineinteractive.org, to learn more about this program.
Welcome back to the TV on TV Election Night Results Special. Today is Election Day and the polls are open until 8 p.m. If you haven't and you are able, please vote. If you've already voted, check out this primer on local government. Fox. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and today we're going to talk about all of the elected positions in town government. Let's start inside Town Hall. The town clerk is elected to a 3-year term and serves several important roles for our town. The town clerk is the records keeper. The town clerk issues permits and licenses for things like dogs and marriages. The town clerk serves an administrative role on several boards and committees, including the Zoning Board of Appeal and Town Meeting. And perhaps most importantly for many of us, the town clerk manages our elections, not just the election in May, but every election we have in the town of Brookline. The Brookline Select Board are the leaders of the executive branch of town government. There are 5 Select Board members, each elected to offsetting 3-year terms. The Select Board is responsible for the hiring and firing of the town administrator and department heads, the execution of contracts, the appointment of members to boards, committees, and commissions, and the approval of a variety of licenses, such as the Common Victualer's License. As the name suggests, the Brookline School Committee is responsible for the Brookline Public Schools. Made up of 9 members elected to offsetting 3-year terms, the school committee is responsible for the hiring and firing of the superintendent, for pedagogy, and for determining exactly how to spend any monies allocated by federal, state, or local government. The 5 Brookline constables are elected to 3-year terms, and their role dates back to the colonial era. The primary responsibility of a constable is to post public notice for events like an upcoming town meeting or a polling location being moved. Another role of the constable is a process server, and that means that if a constable knocks on your door, they're not bringing you a Publishers Clearinghouse check, they're bringing you notice that you are being sued, subpoenaed, divorced, or evicted. Finally, in the event of a fracas in a public meeting or hearing, the chair of the committee may call upon a constable to remove the unruly party. The trustees of the public library serve as the Brookline Public Library's Board of Directors. There are 12 of them, 4 elected each year to offsetting 3-year terms, and their role is to manage the policies and procedures of Brookline's public libraries, as well as to hire its executive director. We're here at 90 Longwood Avenue, the headquarters for the Brookline Housing Authority. Now, the Brookline Housing Authority has 5 members. 1 is appointed by the governor. The other 4 are elected by people in Brookline. 1 of the 5 must be a resident of the Brookline Housing Authority. And this board is responsible for managing and maintaining all Brookline Housing Authority properties, which provide safe, affordable housing for low and moderate income people, including seniors, the disabled, and families. The town meeting is Brookline's legislature, made up of 255 members, it is 15 residents from each of Brookline's 17 precincts, typically elected 5 at a time in each precinct. On elections following the decennial census, all 15 town meeting members can be up at once. Brookline's town meeting is responsible for the annual appropriation, the budget, as well as passing laws and regulations related to land use, development, or other behavior in town. When in person, Brookline's town meeting meets right here in the Brookline High School auditorium. The moderator is elected to a 3-year term and serves several important roles. The most obvious is to moderate the town meeting itself. The moderator holds the gavel and controls the agenda, determining the order of speakers, whether or not a question is germane or appropriate, and counting the vote itself. The moderator has 2 other important roles as well. In the run-up to town meeting, it is the moderator who determines which proposed amendments are deemed in scope, as well as determining the agenda for each night of the town meeting. Finally, the moderator appoints members to several boards and committees, most notably the town's advisory committee. And we're back, and I want to introduce our guest, Shana Penna from the Brookline League of Women Voters. Shana, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, some of the guests know, but others may not, the role of the Brookline League of Women Voters. There's sort of some vague ideas. Tell us what a modern League of Women Voters is up to in our town.
Well, the League of Women Voters Brookline, we actually do a lot. So we do events every single quarter. So we try to talk about everything going on in the community. But every year we also do a voter's guide. And it's actually one of our most popular offerings. We put together a voter's guide for every town election, and we make sure that almost every single candidate participates in it, because our goal is to have as many people have a voice in our community and in our politics.
And so today's election day, I know the League of Women Voters has an important role, and for those who don't know, that's this.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us about the voting guide.
So the voter's guide is actually something that, starting in January, we put together a plan on how to contact every single person that registers to run in the election. And we put together a group at the League of Women Voters. And this year, we actually got a lot of volunteers. So even people who aren't part of the League of Women Voters helped contribute to our voter's guide this year, which was fantastic. But it's a hard thing. We have to get in contact with every single candidate. We have to make sure that they answer their questions. And we have it online too. So we have an online version at Vote 411, where you can look up every single candidate, or you can get the ones that we hand out around the community. So we try to put them in all the major places in our community, like the public libraries, town hall, Brookline Bank, stuff like that. And
there are a lot of elected officials in Brookline. In fact, there are 292 elected positions in our town government. About 1/3 are up for election every year. And that's a feature that allows the voters to make their feelings known immediately. They don't have to wait 4 years to redirect the community, right? They can get signals every year, and every 2 years, they can change a majority of the board. And that's sort of a feature that our government has, but it does mean there are so many candidates, right? And I want to remind folks, right, 5 select board members, 2 up most years, including this year.
Yeah.
9 school committee members, 3 up every year. 12 from the library trustees, 4 up every year. We elect 1 housing commissioner every year. Actually, not quite every year. The governor gets to appoint 1, and those are 5-year terms. And then, of course, 15 town meeting members from each of the 17 precincts. We elect 5 every year. So this year, there's 101 seats up. And that meant that of the 141 candidates, they're all in here.
Almost all of them.
Almost all. Every once in a while.
Almost all of them, yep.
And I will tell you as a voter, it's been super important to me to really help me understand, I don't need to worry about the town meeting members running for another precinct, but it can be hard, particularly for town meeting members, to find out what they're all about and make choices. So really, it's a remarkable piece of work, and I can say, and I'm sure many others can, really, really appreciate it. I can only imagine the number of hours.
Yes. a ton of hours.
And so what I'd like to do now is run through all of the candidates. Now, that's 17 precincts worth. We're not going to get into the details there, but I think for the competitive townwide races, would you be able to give us kind of a recap of what those candidates did? We don't want to say anything that they haven't said, but do you think you could, like, quick skim, right? And give us a sense for what those candidates are all about?
Yeah, I would love to.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we pull up the Brookline town election candidates rundown, and let's run through and work through the candidates. So if they're not competitive or if they're townwide, I'll do it. For the tricky ones, I'll leave it to you.
Perfect.
Perfect. So why don't we start with moderator let's go back one. I think we got moderator back there. There we go. Neil Wyszynski, running for moderator and running unopposed. Of course, the moderator's critical job. We just told you all about it. Let's go to town clerk. Town clerk, Ben Kaufman. Now, really interesting, he's supposed to be running the election, but also he's on the ballot. Yeah. So what they did this year is they, for this election, his deputy's running the election, and he has nothing to do with it, right? So he just basically took the day off. Let's go on to select board. All right, now here's where it gets interesting, and we're going to hand it over to you and tell us about these candidates.
All right. So Bernard Green is an incumbent member of the select board race, and he's the current chair. His priorities center around several key areas. He has a long history of involvement in the Brookline community. He has served on various committees, including advisory and the audit committee. Some of the key points he wants to focus on are preserving middle-income housing and balancing development with community needs, in addition to fiscal responsibility and strategic planning. Our next one would be Sana Hafiz. Sana Hafiz is actually a new candidate to the select board race. She is a 27-year-old first-generation Pakistani American Muslim. She emphasized the importance of community-based solutions and values such as equity, accessibility, and transparency in governance. She sees Brookline major equity issues to be affordable childcare, housing, workforce development, environmental sustainability, and transparency and accountability. She also advocates for evidence-based decision-making and an effective allocation of resources. Alexander Leibovitz is also a new candidate for the select board race. He's been living in Brookline for 8 years. He is a first-term town meeting member for Precinct 8, and he has worked to pass bylaws and warrant articles that address fiscal management, public health, and housing affordability. He proposes a comprehensive approach to address these challenges, including developing a revenue plan, encouraging commercial development, reforming pilot policies, and increasing transparency in the override process. Susan Park is also a new candidate for the select board race. Susan has been a resident of Brookline for 9 years. She has served on town meeting for 2 terms and briefly on the advisory committee. She acknowledges the financial challenges facing Brookline and emphasizes the importance of prudent spending and prioritizing investments in education. She advocated for increasing revenue through commercial developments, specifically highlighting a vision for revitalizing Chestnut Hill and leveraging state aid for Brookline projects. David Perlman is also a new candidate for the select board. David is a near lifelong resident of Brookline. He grew up in Coolidge Corner, attended local schools, and graduated from Brandeis University and Boston University. He has served in town meeting for 10 years and on the school committee since 2018. The most recent, he was 2 years as the chair. He emphasizes a commitment for fiscal responsibility and meeting the needs of the schools while prioritizing environmental sustainability.
I'm so glad I only have to do the non-competitive races. That was incredible. Let's advance to the library trustees. Folks, there are 4 library positions up. There are 4 incumbents running. They are Judy Goldman, Kristen Hung, Carol Lowy, and Sasan Zelka. And we don't have to spend much time on them because all 4 are going to win. Let's move on to the school committee, where 3 will get elected out of the 4. Why don't you run us through them?
So all of our school committee members are actually new candidates, so there are no incumbents. Miriam Askenazi was previously a member of the Select Board, Town Meeting, and has had numerous roles in committees and commissions. She co-chaired Brookline's American Rescue Plan Act Committee. She advocates for openness in decision-making processes, emphasizing the importance of communication and public input at multiple stages of the curriculum and budget development. She highlights a commitment to evidence-based governance to address complex issues effectively. Jesse Hefner is a longtime resident of Brookline. He is a first-term town meeting member in Precinct 14 and a member of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Jesse prioritizes collaboration and consensus building to address complex tasks. Communication and ensuring transparency is important to him, and he suggests utilizing various communication channels to engage with residents and providing budget breakdowns and reports to demonstrate financial transparency. Sarah Muckdiger is considered a new candidate for the school committee, though she was appointed into a vacant school committee seat in November 2023. She has been a resident of Brookline since 2004 and is on the school committee's finance and capital improvement subcommittees. Sarah was also a teacher in the Brookline K-8 schools from 2004 until 2023. Sarah highlights her commitment to education and responsiveness, transparency, and leveraging her experience as an educator. Carolyn Thal has lived in Brookline for 14 years. She has been actively involved in the Baker School PTO, the Brookline Education Foundation Board, Town Meeting, and the Advisory Committee. She is committed to providing clear and detailed information about the budget, ensuring transparency on budget additions and multi-year trends, and measuring progress towards educational goals to ensure the district's success and sustainability.
Again, I'm so glad you are the one summarizing everything in the voter's guide. I can't imagine trying to work through all of that. Let's see what's next. What's next is the Housing Authority, and of course, 3 candidates, all challengers, no incumbent running, but only one will be elected today. Give us a little bit about the 3 Housing Authority candidates.
Great. So Sean O'Neill believes in the importance of encouraging new voters by emphasizing the impact of voting on affecting change. She wants to prioritize resident involvement to ensure that BHA residents are actively involved in the decision-making process. She aims to serve as a voice for the people, advocating for their needs and concerns by ensuring that their voices are heard and valued. Kimberly Richardson has lived in BHA housing for over 12 years. She is active in BCDC, Women Thriving, and Brookline for Racial Justice and Equity. Kimberly pledges to enhance community engagement within the BHA community and ensure that residents' voices are heard and prioritized. She advocates for inclusivity and representation and intends to push for accountability. Lynn Sweet has nearly 40 years of experience in affordable housing, garnered through her own company and participating in multiple boards and committees related to housing. She brings an understanding of funding opportunities that the Housing Authority could use for capital improvements, additional housing units, or increased resident services. Lynn pledges to listen carefully to all BHA residents and utilize her skills and experience to benefit the Brookline Housing Authority.
So great, so great. So those are the 3 competitive townwide races. So I'm going to let you catch your breath, and I'm going to work through all 17 precincts. We're not going to go into the voter's guide. We're just going to run through the names so that all candidates, folks know they're out there. They get frankly, the respect they deserve for running. We want to get every single person on this show. We'll name the winners later, but for now, we want to give everybody their due. So let's advance and talk about Precinct 1. Precinct 1, there are 6 candidates for 5 positions, including several incumbents, Neil Gordon and Anthony Ishak, as well as Catherine Ingraham, Louise King, Sarah Mogtatter, and Robert Schoen. There's also a special election in Precinct 1 where we will elect one of the 2 for a 1-year seat, and those candidates are Allison Gray and Bradford Kimball. Moving on to Precinct 2, we've got Jim Franco, Carol Gladstone, Kimberly Richardson, Richard Snyder, Georgina Garcia Seufer, Karina Gruez, Henry Levinson, Katie Owen, and Katha Seidman. And I want to apologize. We misspelled Kimberly's name on the slide. It's actually Kimberley. Kimberly, I apologize. We worked so hard to get it all right. We are humans. We are imperfect. We've got it spelled right on the ballot, and that's what's most important. Let's go to Precinct 3. 5 for 5. I've got a good bet these 5 women will win. Mary Dewart, Jane Gilman, Gina Hahn, Kathleen Scanlon, and Rebecca Stone. Precinct 4 is kind of a funky circumstance. Now, of course, there are 5 candidates up for re-election, but only 4 people returned papers. Those 4, all incumbents, Karen Ambrose, Alan Christ, Rob Daves, and Lisa Marie Sears. For that 5th position, it's a write-in. Voters who vote in Precinct 4 have the opportunity, of course, as everyone does, to write in. And a 5th person will be elected as a write-in. We will not have that result tonight. Those write-ins have to be counted tonight after the polls close and all the ballots get back to the town clerk's office. That call won't be made until the earliest tomorrow morning. These 4, though, they're in like Flynn. Congratulations, way ahead of time to you 4. Let's look at Precinct 5. Precinct 5 has, it's a 7 for 5. Kevin England, Omar Mabrouk, Hugh Madison, Phyllis O'Leary, all incumbents, and then Ariel Grusman, Beth Miller, and Alok Somani also vying for the seats. In Precinct 6, a 7 for 5, we've got 3 incumbents, Arthur Wellington Conquest III, Scott Englander, and Jeff Rudolph, as well as 4 newcomers, at least to Precinct 6. I'll tell you what I mean in a minute. Ruvi Kitoff, Dave Porter, Felina Silver, and brother Larry Whitney. I say new to 6 because Felina Silver is already a town meeting member and incredibly active, as you know, in the League of Women Voters. She moved literally 2 blocks down the street, but it put her in another precinct, and so she's currently serving as a town meeting member. Because she moved, she's up for re-election again in Precinct 6. We wish her and the rest all the success in the world. Precinct 7, that's a biggie, right? It's a 10 for 5, and in practice, really there were 2 different cohorts. Advertising as a cohort. Of course, voters can vote any mix or match they prefer. So I'm actually going to get you all 10. Ernie Fry, Kelly Hardebeck, Jonathan Margolis, all incumbents. Julia Barnes, David Eber, Roberta Falk, Kevin Jeffries, Sean Leckie, Bree Mirabel, and Max Newell also vying for a seat. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. It may break down on a pro-housing right now versus a pro-take your time on housing conversation. But as you know, people vote for candidates for lots of reasons. They helped me with my groceries that one day, you know, all kinds of reasons. And so we don't always get that simple, these 5 or that 5. It could be a mixy-matchy. We're going to find out in just a while. Precinct 8, we have David Mark Olson. I don't know if you know, David Mark is a member of the Witness Protection Program. And so we don't have a photo for him. I'm just kidding. He's not really. But we don't have a photo for him. So we'll just presume he lives in the shadows. But Precinct 8 does have a 9 for 5, a competitive race. I was out there today, really in all the precincts, but I spent some time outside of FRR chatting with some of the candidates from 8. And in addition to David Mark Goldstein, we've got Charlie Homer, A1 Wang, Nels Carlson, Susan Cherry, Bill Heineman, Daria Mark, Elise Plazonia, and Dave Titel. Precinct 9, competitive. This is sort of Coolidge Corner North, mostly as you're traveling toward TJ Maxx on the left side of the street, a little bit on the right side. It's a 7 for 5. Sarah Kitterman, Kathy Lola, Jerry Tuckman, Joe Katz, Maddie Clock. I'm going to see if I can get this right. Mira Morgan. Miriam is her full name, but Mira Morgan and Gary Schiffman. I spent some time with Mira today. We were chatting about elections, and she was really excited to be running. Really enjoyed the process, and that's what I love to hear. Precinct 10, less fun. It's a 5 for 5. It's also my precinct. Scott Ananian, Catherine Florio, Dave Clafter, Connor Sheehan, and Jeremy Issakoff running for those 5 seats. And then there's a special election, but that's a 1 for 1. Jessica Lang. Precinct 11, now we're talking. 10 for 5, Nancy Daly, Lee Cook-Childs, David Fry, Harry Friedman, Jonathan Karen, Drew McRae, Eric McNulty, Margot Malloy, Jonathan Phillips, and Charu Swami, all competing for those 5 seats in Precinct 12. Precinct 13, also quite competitive. Jonathan Fine and John Freeman, Paul Sainer, Anna Cumenti, Brian Ladd, Susan Pudziba, Tommy Rainkiss, Lee Selwyn, and Michael Shepsis, all competing for those 5 seats in 13. And a 2 for 1 for the 1 year between Mark Gerber and Kevin McKenzie. Over in 14, it is a 6 for 5. Nearly all of these folks will get elected. The 6 are Rick Fredkin, Dave Gayshuk, Roger Lipson, Pam Lodish, Carlos Rerejo, and David Eisenberg. In Precinct 15, a 5 for 5, Michael Berger, Debbie Hatzioleft-Sharitis, Christine Knopf, Ira Krepchin, and Jean Sinat-Fleury. Precinct 16, we're back to something a little more competitive, right? 7 for 5. Regina Frawley, Scott Gladstone, Elisa Jonas, Richard Murphy, David Belton, Julie Jetty, and Kurt Mickelson. And finally, Precinct 17, right in the heart of Coolidge Corner. It's a 6 for 5. Rita McNally, Susie Roberts, Livia Schachter-Call, Stephen Kimball, Christopher Reel, last but not least, John Schreffler. Those are the candidates, 141. No, there's more. We've got a 2-year seat, a special election. One of these 2 will be elected between Catherine Hanshin and Chris Call. And that's a lot of candidates, 141 candidates for 101 positions, and certainly enough to keep the voters busy. Now, of course, any given voter will see the townwide candidates on the ballot and just one precinct worth of town meeting candidates. And so it's a little more manageable. In fact, it fits on an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper, just one side. But it's quite a showing for democracy. Shana, any final tips for our voters for this election or a future election?
Just make sure you get in early. Early voting is fantastic. If you can take advantage of it, you know, we get a card in the mail, just fill it out in the beginning of the year and you never have to worry. In a year with their 4 elections like this year, that's important.
So get it done early.
Get it done early.
Get it done early. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and return with a segment focused on my favorite independent nonprofit news organization dedicated to providing comprehensive local coverage to our town. Stay tuned.
There's a Chinese proverb by Confucius that goes, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. At the Brookline Education Foundation, our only agenda is excellence in education.
Amazing. Todd, you want to take the first one?
The pop-up poetry is such a great example of our Idea Lab grants focused on project-based learning.
For the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to participate in pop-up poetry down at the Boston Book Festival. And I found it an inspiring and really creative and intimate experience to be able to write poems for strangers.
This is poetry on demand. You pull out a typewriter and write poems for people based on an interview. So this project is really about finding poetry in random things or in moments.
Getting to know people's lives, like little snippets of who they are.
This course has actually made me interested in psychology, because when you write a poem, it's sort of like you're seeing a part of you that you didn't know existed before.
Teachers are teachers the way they are humans. When teachers feel burnt out, they can come to us and ask for a grant to be rejuvenated in some way.
The pandemic really kind of hit teaching hard, and it was really hard to show up every day and be my best. I asked for a professional renewal grant to attend a training at Kripalu, which is a yoga institute in Stockbridge, Mass. It was a life-changing experience for me. I really felt like a new teacher, a new person. I felt like I could teach another 10, 15 years.
You need to meet teachers where they are and trust that they know what's best for themselves and for their students.
We both teach a lot about climate science. We got a collaborative grant for field work, and so we thought, let's explore Costa Rica through the lens of where is there hope around climate change. We went to a sustainable cacao plantation.
I think it's impressive for kids to see the video of George taking his machete and hacking off a piece of cacao for us to taste raw. The personal connection helps personalize even more for our students. Kids open up in a very different way to that, and then they start thinking about ways this could be meaningful for them.
When we show this amazing little video we got of a sloth, we can feel hopeful and also feel connected.
Kids already feel a connection. I mean, who doesn't love a sloth?
Little things in life matter more than you think. Finding balance, embracing complexity extends to students, and the whole becomes more than the sum of its parts.
When teachers are their best selves, your children have incredible experiences.
The answer to my question of why did this year work is simple. I connected with kids in an authentic way, and that got me much further than I realized it would.
When teachers model lifelong learning, it provides deeper, richer education. We help make that happen. We focus on professional development and we support excellence in teaching in that way.
Welcome back to the election special broadcast of TV on TV, hosted by me, Representative Tommy Vitolo. We'll get to the results after polls close at 8 p.m. Until then, I'll discuss our local democracy with several more guests. For our town government to be at its best, we rely on the Fourth Estate. Over the past year, while regional papers have taken lazy potshots and conjured controversy, one news agency has rolled up its sleeves and reported local news in Brookline, synthesizing data and facts into useful information. Of course, I'm talking about Brookline.News. A few weeks ago, I caught up with Sam Mintz, the editor of Brookline.News, to discuss their first year. Let's roll that footage. And we're back with a pre-recorded segment with Sam Mintz, editor of Brookline.News. Sam, thanks for coming on the results show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Brookline.News has been around for about a year, a little more, and it has had a major impact on, in my view, on people understanding what's going on in Brookline. So maybe start by telling us, like, how has the first year gone from your perspective?
It's been so great, both for us as an organization and for me personally. We have grown our email list to over 6,000 subscribers. We've put out, I don't know how many stories, but many hundreds of stories, in the year we've been around. We've written some stories that I think have had impacts, have informed people about town government, about the schools, about, fun events and people and culture and businesses in Brookline. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy that we're celebrating a year covering the town of Brookline.
And how do you navigate, you're sort of under the shadow of the Globe, which is this large sort of newspaper of record for the region. Surely you're not going head to head against their reporters. How do you figure out what you're going to cover?
Yeah, we are hyper focused on Brookline. I think that's what sets us apart, even someplace like The Patch, which does some of its own reporting, but, is sort of a network of these many different communities. We are solely focused on Brookline. We are created by the Brookline community. As your viewers may know by now, we, were formed by community members who were frustrated by the disappearance of the Brookline tab in 2022 and wanted to bring local news back to Brookline. So we are a part of the Brookline community. And we write stories every day, every week that are not being covered by the Boston Globe or other larger media organizations. We are covering the courts in Brookline in a way that nobody else is. We're covering the schools in Brookline. And I think a testament to that is the fact that, dozens of times already in our first year, the Globe and the TV stations and the NPR affiliates in Boston have said, hey, here's a story about something that's happening in Brookline, and here's who first reported it. But we're following up on it in our own way because we think it's important to our regional audience. But they'll link to our story because I think they recognize, very quickly, I think we sort of asserted ourselves as the place to get news in Brookline about Brookline.
And you mentioned an email list of 6,000. Of course, the name brookline.news is the URL. No print edition?
No print edition, not at this point. It's something we've thought about for sure, and we'll continue to think about. I think it comes down to the simple economics of running a news organization. The question that we have wrestled with and will continue to wrestle with is how much does it cost to produce a print edition, and how much will it make? The revenue from the ads that we can sell, or however else it brings in money. And I think the reality of us as an organization is that our budget is so small and we run so lean that we're not really in a position to be able to take any risks at the moment. So, stay tuned. We certainly wouldn't rule it out, something that's an ongoing conversation. For example, we might say we'll put out a quarterly print edition or a yearly guide like they do in some of their towns, which has many of our stories and, is a place for people to advertise or otherwise, build community. But for now, yes, we're online only. The best way to read our stuff is to visit that URL, brookline.news, or to sign up for our email newsletter or catch us on any of the social media platforms you're on, because we're on all of them except for TikTok. Not yet.
Well, and depending on what Congress does, maybe not ever.
Right.
The upshot, though, is you're putting out articles every day. It's not like a once a week reading about things that happened 4 days ago sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's something that's important to me. And it's this interesting dynamic because I'm used to, in past jobs of mine, I worked in Washington, D.C. I was on the transportation and energy beats where you're competing against 10 other reporters who are following the same agencies and interviewing the same people as you. And so speed is really important. And so that's a little bit ingrained into me. Here, as I mentioned before, there was nobody doing the same kind of stories about Brookline as us, but it still feels important to me to publish things quickly. I think you want people to be able to find out something's happening when it's happened or shortly after it's happened, in part because sometimes it means that it gives them a chance to, an advocacy opportunity to say, hey, this just happened. I want to, step into the next select board meeting or town meeting session to weigh in on it, or for them to say, I want to, be writing letters about this. So yeah, it is important for me that we get stories up quickly, and we do publish throughout the week, 4 or 5 stories most weeks. It's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun.
Well, they say if it's not news, it's olds, right? You got to get it out there.
Exactly.
You mentioned earlier not looking to take major financial risks right now. What is the model, the revenue model for Brookline.news? I assume you're not working for free. You got to put food on the table. And how secure is your footing as an organization?
Yeah, so, first of all, I manage the editorial side, so I'm all about the stories that we're writing, the content we're putting out, our social media strategy, and we have a really, impressive board and group of volunteers, and actually a new chief of staff who we just hired a few weeks ago, who are really laser focused on the money. But I'll give you sort of an overview. To start, we were fully donor funded, so that means that all of our money came from individual donors. This group, who in 2022 started thinking about Brookline.news, started raising money around that time as well, and built up, a nice cushion for us to get started last year in 2023 when we did. And we've continued to raise money from those donors. We have about 1,000 donors, some of them large, but almost all of them very small, a couple bucks, $50, et cetera, who have really helped bring us to where we are. We will keep doing that as long as we exist, but we also have been looking at ways to diversify, to use a business term, diversify our revenue streams, so to speak. And among those things, we are, again, not me, because I'm the editor, and so I have a, for conflict of interest and ethics reasons, I'm separate from this process, but members of our organization have been reaching out to potential sponsors who are businesses or organizations in the community supporting us organizationally and sort of creating partnerships there. And again, just to reiterate, that doesn't change anything about the way we might cover those businesses or organizations, but it is a really important goal and part of our future funding.
So you said you used to cover some national stuff. I'm sure as a journalist, you've been paying attention to news for a long time. Every community in Massachusetts is a special flower. I've learned that as a state rep. And that means Brookline is also a special flower. So I wonder, in your experience, now that you're a year into all of the things that make Brookline tick in its own way, what are some of the things that are fun or funky, some of the things about Brookline that maybe are a little more or a little less than you might see in other communities?
I think that Brookline is a really engaged news audience. And that's not to say that there aren't huge amounts of people that we would like to do a better job of reaching, or who aren't engaged, or who don't follow town government, for example. But by and large, compared to many other places, I think that people in Brookline are really engaged, really passionate. I think the thing that sets this job apart from truly any other job I've had in journalism, which has included both, local, regional, and even national news, is the amount of feedback I get on any given story, the amount of emails I get. And, they're often, sometimes they're praise, sometimes they're criticism, sometimes there's something in between. And we publish many of these as letters to the editor, which you can find under the opinion section of our website. But the volume is truly huge, and it's something that really sustains me and I appreciate and enjoy. I think in journalism, sometimes you're writing a story and sending it off into the ether, and you're wondering how it's going to be received or what people think of it. And I do not have to wonder about almost any story that we publish. I think I really appreciate even when people get in touch with us with criticism. I think it's nice just that they're reading is honestly how I feel. And I do take feedback and criticism on board and think about it. And, it's to me, it's just better than apathy or being ignored altogether. And so that truly stands out. And I think that's a pretty unique thing to Brookline, even talking to other colleagues who do work in local news at similar publications.
I will tell you that answer did not surprise me at all. You would not be surprised to learn that I also get lots of feedback, not all of it positive, hopefully more than half. Have you covered a story in the last year where everything you knew about the way the world works made you think the story was going to go one way, but after you sort of scratched around and spoke to some folks, you realized the story went in a direction that was unexpected, at least for you?
Yeah, I think, this is probably a really obvious answer to your audience, but the best example would probably be the MBTA Communities Act and the sort of town process that went through deciding how Brookline should respond to that. I know that's something that you were very actively engaged in, but I think, the way that leaders in Brookline came together, and this sounds sappy, and I promise I'm a much more cynical person than this is going to make me sound, but the way that leaders came together in Brookline and worked really, really hard to find a compromise that got a huge percentage of town meeting members on board, that absolutely challenged, I think, my preconceptions about Brookline, many people outside's preconceptions about Brookline, the reputation that Brookline has historically about how it handles housing and development. So I think that was probably the best example I can give. And I hope that answers your question.
Well, listen, it's election day, so it's a day that it's okay to be a little sappy, to be a little optimistic about town leadership. It is so important. And, today's the day. Voters have just a little bit more time. Polls close at 8 p.m. If you haven't voted yet and you're able to do so, get out there and vote. There are competitive townwide races for select board, school committee, housing authority, and most town meeting elections are competitive as well. Any predictions?
I would predict that at least one town meeting race will end up tied, and then we'll go into the interesting, strange process that might result from that within town government.
Yeah, and as vice chair of election laws, I tend to know these things. The interesting, strange process, if there's a tie for last place in town meeting, if 2 people tie for 5th or 3 people tie for 4th, all of those people lose. And the remaining town meeting members, the 14 or 13 total who are elected, 10 from prior years and the 3 or 4 from this year, then actually just get to choose which one they want. And it doesn't even have to be amongst the people who tied. It doesn't even have to be somebody who ran. It can be anyone. It's just the way they would process any vacancy. It's a strange thing. I think there's some humility that's useful here as a town meeting member. since something like 2007 or 2008. There's 255 town meeting members for our town. It doesn't have to be that every single town meeting member is the most important person to the future of Brookline, right? I mean, it's a big, diverse mix. So that's how it works. I think that that's less likely to be true. We're going to find out, though, in about an hour as the results come in, and they will be reported right here on Brookline Interactive Group. Sam Mintz, Brookline.News, we're so grateful for all of your work and all of your organization's work in helping keep folks informed, not just about government and politics, where I spend most of my time, but about all kinds of things happening in our community of Brookline. Thanks so much for everything you do.
Thanks again for having me on.
And I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
In 2012, the World Health Organization of the United Nations named the town of Brookline its first age-friendly community in New England. This was based on a whole list of attributes and work by the Brookline residents, the select board, the town departments, and leadership provided by Brookline Can, an all-volunteer organization that works on Brookline residents of all ages and their issues. As an age-friendly city, Brookline's conscious of its design of streets, open spaces, housing, and businesses for residents of all ages and cultures.
These young kids are really, really hurting. And the longer it goes on, the more severe the pain becomes. I know because I have a couple of clients who are victims of bullying, and they haven't had any really good response from the resources that are available.
Why do you love knitting?
Oh, I love knitting for so many reasons. It balances me out. It settles me. It makes me feel complete.
Any last words, Susan?
Susan, I just want to thank you for hosting a show like this, because it just really shows how much you care for our community, and I just want to thank you. You're wonderful.
Last summer, Big offered sportscasting camp to middle and high school students. Here, kids learned the fundamentals of sportscasting, like using professional video equipment, directing, live switching, and commentating. We are excited to have it return this summer and to soon welcome more students year-round.
No doubt you'll read about the results tomorrow morning in Brookline.News, but if you're like me, you'll take pride knowing that you knew the results the night before from watching TV on TV right here on Brookline Interactive Group. Up next, we're going to have a conversation with the one, the only, the Ben Kaufman. Now, the interesting thing about Ben Kaufman is he's both the town clerk running the election, but he's also a candidate, and both of those things can't both be true. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. Ben, you're the town clerk. How can you both run an election and be on the ballot at the same time?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for us to have in Brookline. We have an elected town clerk who's elected by the voters every 3 years. So that means every 3 years we have a ballot where I have to both be a candidate and also run the election. So we set up guardrails for this election to make sure that we had a separation between the town clerk's office running the ballot and the candidate who is going to be on the ballot. So I relied heavily on my assistant town clerk, on my staff, who really stepped up to make sure that we were able to get work done, have an effective election, while giving me separation from the ballot itself. And it's been a tremendous benefit. Not only have we had an incredibly successful election day today and the weeks that we've just had, but it's given my staff the opportunity to learn, to experience some of the things that happen on election day, which is only going to help us when we move into the fall.
So Joe Tremper under control today?
Joe Tremper is the acting clerk today. He's been the acting clerk for the last couple of weeks, and he's been doing that hard work, going out to the precincts, solving problems, working with our poll workers and our voters and our candidates to make sure we have the best election we can.
I want to first talk a little bit about the poll workers themselves. Now, where do you get the poll workers from? What are they doing the rest of the time? How do they know what they're doing? Tell us about like the life and process of a poll worker.
Absolutely. So we rely on a huge group of poll workers. About 150 poll workers will work each of our elections in the precincts themselves. Some of them serve as wardens who run the precinct, as clerks who kind of help out the warden, as well as the inspectors who you see at the front table when you check in. And they have a very important role. For a lot of people in town, the only interaction they're going to have with a member of town government is when they go into the polling place and interact with their poll workers. Some of them are retired, some of them are high school students, some of them are professionals, and they just take a day off from work to do this. For all of them, we're incredibly grateful. It's a long day. They get in at about 6 a.m., and they will be there after the polls close, counting ballots as late as 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So we're incredibly lucky in Brookline to have a dedicated group of poll workers, and we're always looking to bring on more.
Now, when I heard you tell me about these long hours, the first thing I was thinking was, what about lunch? But I know there's an answer for that. And my crack team got us one of the lunches that you serve the poll workers. This is from Mamala's Delicatessen. We're going to zoom in. It's the election day lunch. This was a turkey. Let's check out what's in this lunch and make sure you're treating our folks right. Let's take a look.
Absolutely.
Did you get one of these today? Because you didn't work the election.
We always get some extras for the staff at Town Hall to make sure they're well fed as well. What I always say is I make sure my people get paid and I make sure my people get fed.
Well, they get turkey sandwich, tomato, and a pickle.
Nice big pickle there.
Granny Smith.
Got to keep the doctors away.
Bag of chips. No fries, cheaps. Maine's finest, a bottle of water. Look at this. And a Hamantaschen.
Hamantaschen cookie. Straight from Mamala's Bakery, which is great about. Mamala's been one of our elections vendors for the last several elections. They actually reached out to us. They're a local business. They've got a shop up on Washington Street. So they have been providing us with our lunches. So all of our poll workers get a choice: turkey, tuna, or hummus and veggie if they want a vegetarian option, and we will deliver them out to the precincts on Election Day.
You keep talking. I'm
just going to keep running the show here. I'm ready to do some election results if we've got them ready while Tommy's going ahead and eating. But I think it is a very important part of the day. Look, it's a long day. They're working hard. We want to make sure that they're feeling appreciated, that they have the sustenance they need to get through it, and I think it's something that's really appreciated by our poll workers. So I know we're grateful to have partners like Mamala's. In addition to lunch, they actually also provide us breakfast. They do pastry platters with babka and cinnamon coffee cakes and all kinds of good stuff in the morning, as well as the sandwiches that we do in the afternoon. And it's just something to show our appreciation for the poll workers and make sure they can power through the day.
So long as we're using an interview with the town clerk to promo local businesses, I want to shout out Gin's and Hamilton's. Both of those restaurants, we're on the air in their restaurant as we speak. They got the closed captioning, so they even know what we're saying.
Oh, very nice. I hope they're getting all of the words right, so they don't think we're saying something out of turn.
I'm sure it's fine. A question I actually heard several times today is, hey, you get all those votes by mail, you get all those votes in the boxes, right? It's Election Day. When do you count the early votes?
Absolutely. So this election, we actually had the highest usage of early votes since the November 2022 election. Over 5,000 voters voted early or voted by mail. So all of those are gathered in the town clerk's office. We process them into our voter registration system, which allows people to go online and actually see if they have gotten their ballot accepted. And then we will send it out to the precinct on Election Day. So in the precinct, when the polls open, the poll workers, they'll start opening up all of those ballots, checking the names off on the voter list and putting them through the scanner. So it goes through the scanners just like everybody else's ballot on Election Day, and we have a whole system so you can actually go online and see when we've received your ballot, make sure it's been counted so it's ready to go out to the polls on Election Day.
And so on that note, right, it's a 1 minute before 8. What if somebody puts in the ballot in a slot in Coolidge Corner right now?
If you put it in before 8 o'clock on the dot, we will count it. If you're in line and it's 8 o'clock, make sure you stay in line because you're going to be able to vote.
And if you show up at 8:01?
Sorry, come back in the fall. We'll have some more elections.
September 3rd. It's 8 o'clock, and that gives me the opportunity to congratulate Ben Kaufman on your re-election, running unopposed. As far as we know, there was not a write-in campaign. Secret write-in campaigns have never been known to work. Congratulations on your first re-election as Brookline's town clerk.
Thank you, Representative. I appreciate it.
So it's 8 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have the first results in addition to Ben Kaufman, the first one called here on BIG. Folks, stay tuned.
Historically giving away the first one in the history of this town.
Thank you. Oh my God. Wow. I was not expecting this right before the holidays. Yes.
Merry Christmas. Making sure that people are getting direct assistance.
Thank you, Black Brown, for 500 for the gift.
Thank you, Black and Brown Organization, for the gift card.
Gracias por los $500 que hacía falta mucho. Thank you.
Thank you, Black and Brown, for the holiday gift card.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Brown, נתנו לי מתנה לחג חנוכה ולאשתי לקריסמס. Thank you very, very much, and I appreciate it.
Black and proud, we appreciate the love. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone.
You can afford the JK, you have to take the child all the way to Jamaica Plain. Yes, so we're trying to bring one to you. So.
Okay. Now we're getting to it.
I love you, Mom, and I enjoy it on everyone. I'm scared. But excited.
What you gonna do, Eli?
We're gonna fly. First time. There's a first for everything.
How was it?
It was great. I felt like it was really natural and wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
To ensure there's equity in that process.
Black and Brown ABG training program just did our site visit at Beta Technologies that brings success.
This is just the beginning.
And we're back here on Brookline Interactive Group. I'm Tommy Vitolo, and I have results from tonight's election. Now, I want to be clear. The polls just closed a few minutes ago, so we couldn't possibly have all of the results. We're going to start with the precincts and the town-wide races that are uncontested. Give us a taste. And then, as the results come in to Brookline Interactive Group's world headquarters, we're going to crunch the numbers and we're going to get you the results for all of the precincts and the town-wides. Let's start with some of the uncontested. We're going to start in North Brookline, right here in Precinct 3. It's a 5 for 5, no surprises. 5 incumbents, all doing a fantastic job. Mary Dewart, Jane Gilman, Gina Hahn, Kathleen Scanlon, and Rebecca Stone. Congratulations to you 5, the first winners elected for town meeting. Precinct 4, this, as we talked about earlier, it's a 5 for 5. You'll notice I've only got 4 folks on the board. Incumbents Karen Ambrose, Alan Christ, Rob Daves, and Lisa Marie Sears. And the reason is there were only 4 people who returned papers. The 5th seat, it's a write-in. We are not going to have those results tonight. The town clerk will tabulate, the town clerk's office will tabulate the results for that write-in, one ballot at a time over the course of the evening. Those won't be available until tomorrow morning. What we do know, Karen Ambrose, Alan Christ, Rob Daves, and Lisa Marie Sears. Let's go down to Precinct 10, right in the middle of our map here, sort of divided by Washington Street, Beacon Street and Washington Street. It's a 5 for 5, so again, we know what we're doing here. Scott Ananian, Catherine Florio, David Clafter, Connor Sheen, and Jeremy Isikoff. Congratulations to all 5 of you. Fun fact, this guy once lived on a boat. We've also got the 1-year seat in Precinct 10. This is a special election, 1 candidate, 1 seat, 1 year. Jessica Lang, welcome to town meeting. We're now going to go down south to Precinct 15. That's this big one here. We've got some golf courses and all kinds of fun recreation. We've also got 5 winners in town meeting. Michael Berger, Debbie Hatsia left Theritis. I think I got that right. I've been practicing all day. Christine Knopf, Ira Krepchen, and Jean Sinat-Fleury. Congratulations to all 5 of you. We've got a couple of town-wide races, which again, uncontested. We're going to start with moderator Neil Wyshynski, former chair of the select board, formerly on the advisory committee, former town meeting member. He's played a lot of roles in Brookline, perhaps uniquely suited to serve as town moderator and manage the town meeting, as well as several other duties. As announced first, right at 8 o'clock, Ben Kaufman, our town clerk, ran unopposed, re-elected, not busy counting the votes because he's in this election, but with no opponent. We feel pretty confident in saying congratulations, Ben Kaufman, for your first re-election. You'll get another 3 years. And our last town-wide that's uncontested, trustees of the public library. 4 candidates, 4 winners, all 4 are incumbents. Judy Goldman, Kristen Hung, Carol Lowy, and Sasan Zelka. So folks, these are the races that are uncontested. These are the easy calls. We start early and we build our way up. What we're going to do now is get some results, pull them in, generate those results files. And while we're doing that, you're going to watch what's known as an interstitial or two. That is to say, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have more results.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Late Night with Olga.
Strasvucci!
What she said.
Bloody hell, that was loud. But let me tell you, noise doesn't matter when you've got a solar-powered vacuum cleaner, because that's what this is. The fact is, I break me back every day cleaning up the mess that my husband leaves around.
There is so much power we, particularly as mothers, have in the shopping that we do. So we can choose to purchase safer, greener products to take home to our kids, organic. We can choose to not buy red meat and pork. I mean, that industry and the amount of greenhouse gases.
The cow farts, methane, it's really, no, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I thought my ex-husband's farts were bad enough, but the cow farts, no, it's not.
It's true.
Me.
It's true.
Let's go over to Robin Ann, who's out and about today, to see what the men in Brookline are thinking of the menopause.
I have heard my wife mention the term a couple times, but I'm not really sure what's involved.
Hi, my name is Zay. I come to the Brookline Tea Center all the time.
I come to the Brookline Tea Center all the time.
Hi, I'm Lucas and I come to the Brookline Tea Center all the time.
Oh, wait, turn.
welcome, hello and welcome, hello and welcome, hello and welcome, hello and welcome to TV on TV. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo. Today is Thursday, January 18th, Thursday, January 25th, Thursday, February 1st, Thursday, February 8th, Thursday, February 15th, Thursday, February 29th, Thursday, December 14th, and we have a great show for you today. Massachusetts Climate Chief Melissa Hoffer has published her report of recommendations ordered by Governor Healy on her second day in office. The report recommends reducing the availability of short flights where rail might be available, implementing a K-12 climate change curriculum in schools, and reforms to Mass Save. The first question is the same for everybody. What have you been doing your whole life? Tell us about yourself.
My family, we were working class. My parents both worked 2 jobs pretty much all the time. We were still pretty much better off than a lot of our family back in Ghana. So that kind of really seeded my awareness of equity and equity. And even before I had language for it.
There's got to be a website, I hope.
What it does is it shows all of the available how-to guides. It explains why they're important. It explains the goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2040. And then it shows all the guides available.
As an editor, I had this book come out last year in 2023, Jewish Futures. I put together an anthology of stories by other people, Jewish science fiction. We actually did an event at Brookline Booksmith, and we're doing a second book, which will hopefully be out by the end of the year. Jewish Futures 2 is the current working title.
That's all the time we have. We're so delighted you could be with us on the show today. Welcome back. You're watching TV on TV, but not the weekly episode, the election night special. And while the election workers are finishing tabulating the results and sending them in here to Brookline Interactive Group World Headquarters, we're going to have a conversation with my new friend, Olga.
Tommy, it's wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show.
I'm so, as you say in America, pumped.
I know you're used to being on TV because you're on TV all the time in your own show.
I am. Have you seen it? You can.
I have.
You promise me?
I have.
It's very good. We talk about climate change, big issue for Brookline.
That was one of the issues on your show.
Yeah, we talk about menopause, also big issue, but sadly no select men are dealing with it. And we also have show on drag queens and
That's
ban,
right.
which we, of course, because Brookline, we are age friendly and drag friendly.
Absolutely. Now your show's late at night.
It is late at. It's called Late Nights with Olga, and it's very fun.
I will tell you, I hope this show doesn't run late at night, because if it does, we've had an elections disaster.
Well, you know what? We've got to solve that problem, Tommy. You know what I'm talking about.
What are we doing here?
We've got...
Oh my gosh.
Some lemon juice. I mean, you know what I mean.
You know I come prepared, friend.
I know. Here we go, Tommy. In honor of this special evening.
Is there something we say, or do we just fire them back?
We say to perestroika.
Perestroika.
Yes. Fantastic.
That's gonna help.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
So we had an election today.
Yes.
You've got a sticker.
I voted.
How did you manage choices?
Oh, it's very complicated. Sometimes there's only one person on the ballot for the one position. I think that's a little fishy.
I would have thought that would have been more comfortable for you.
Well, no, it's true. In Russia, that's what we do. So, I mean, the choices are incredible. I mean, I can't believe it. It's a little dizzying. You know, my memory is not so good since I've been, going through the change. But I am remembering, and I voted. And let me tell you something, Tommy. Every time I vote, I cry because it is such a special privilege.
Is it really just the sticker for you?
It really is just a sticker. How did you know?
They're bigger in America than they used to be.
Yeah.
Like everything else in America,
I know,
the stickers are getting
Big
bigger.
Macs, the stickers, but no, I'm very excited for results. It's very important, especially, well, many things I am excited about.
Tell me a little bit about the pink, the sparkles, and the animal print. It's a lot.
Oh, Tommy, you notice.
I do notice these sorts of things.
I'm so, not a lot of men will notice that.
My wife's out of town.
Oh, Tommy, don't tell me that.
True story.
We have some more vodka for later. But no, when I lived in Russia, I was very depressed. It's very gray. I grew up under communism. So when I was in my teens, it was Gorbachev and, like pushing down the wall, and suddenly there was more freedom and transparency. And I cannot tell the story in public of how I got here because it's a bit of a secret. But magically, I arrived in Brookline and I was still depressed. Okay, so I knew that I had to cheer myself up. So I decided to wear pink and sparkles because, if you're not finding joy in the doldrums of winter, you gotta make your own sparkles.
Now, growing up in Russia, I grew up, of course, right, in the 80s in America, and here's what I knew about Russia as a kid. I knew you were desperate. I don't know if it was true or not, but this is what I knew.
Okay.
Desperate for the Levi's, right? And I knew that any ragtag group of American kids who grew up on a military base could steal a jet fighter and somehow beat the Russians. That's what we learned from Hollywood.
Really? Oh, right.
So was there sort of a similar, am I on point here? What's...
Well, the Hollywood stuff, of course, now, right? That's all make-believe. I'm sorry, Tommy, but the Levi's, oh, yes. I mean, another part of my story, I was unfortunately friendly with some of the people who rose up in the KGB, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I had a little inside scoop into getting my Levi's. I had a closet full of Levi's. The other thing that was very, in retrospect, kind of messed up, but I used to love fast food. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, because of course that meant freedom. But we know that is actually the opposite of freedom, hooking people on sugary fat food that leads to diet-related diseases.
Indeed, and the prices have gone way up.
Yeah, the prices, inflation, Yes. I know, even Stop and Shop here, please.
Another place with a lot of choices. You go in and you're like...
A lot of choices, but no blinis.
None?
None. This must be, Tommy,
not
do you
even
have
online?
some influence with Stop and Shop?
I'll tell you.
I
would have said call Deb Goldberg, the state treasurer who lives in South Brookline. Her parents ran the Stop and Shop empire, but they sold it a while ago. So my connections are dated.
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, maybe we'll find someone else. I will go on prowl.
We'll find something.
Okay.
I did have, earlier in the show, I had a turkey sandwich from Mamala's.
You did?
On the show.
Wow.
And I had to have my prior guest, Ben Kaufman, keep talking because I was just
was it? Well, you must be hungry, no?
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
It's been
Mamala's great place.
Big fan.
Yeah, me too.
Big fan. So
Me
I
too.
visited all the precincts today, got a little bit of color.
Yes.
Spent a little time outside. And, with all of the early voting, it can feel a little slow, like there aren't so many voters. But in fact, a lot of voters like to vote early. But you voted on election day, as I did.
I voted on election day, and honestly, it's amazing that we have early voting, because in Russia, basically, there's no voting, right? Nothing. If you try to change the way things go, you're gonna be... So... You're right, but I love the energy of going in the polls, meeting the amazing people who are ensuring a safe and fair election that we know we cannot take for granted.
That's right.
At all, because we need to protect our democracy.
And I think today it seemed to go according to plan. There, you know, no buildings caught on fire. There were no catastrophes, to my knowledge.
Yeah. I'm particularly interested in the school issue because maybe, is that about Russian math?
Yeah, that's funny, right? So, so Russian math's actually across the street from the polling location in Washington Square. We do have polls in a couple of different polling. We have a couple of polling locations in schools. Some in libraries, some in housing or other buildings. It can be a little tricky during drop-off and pickup with all the kids and all the voters and a little extra commotion. But you know, mostly people figure it out, as far as I can tell. And you know, I know when I was a kid, my parents would take me into the voting booth, and back then, it was like it's almost like a shower curtain, and there were all these switches, and you would throw the switches, and then at the end you'd pull the lever, and the curtain would spring open, and it was this. I remember the curtain.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I hope
it
wasn't moldy like shower curtain.
No, no, I think it was.
Good.
You know, they saved that for the ballots themselves. But I remember as a kid voting with my parents, and I think we still see kids do it today.
Yeah, we do. It's exciting. 18 years old, off you go. Make your voice heard, you know?
And with vote by mail, it's easier than ever.
Yes, it is. I mean, I don't know. I have never done it, but I trust you.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we're going to see how the results are coming in, but I think we've still got a few more minutes.
Okay.
So, folks, stay tuned, and when we come back, I hope you'll be able to stick around and
I would love to, but only if we have a little more, you know what I mean? Okay,
maybe when
no,
we come
you
back.
know, okay.
Folks, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute.
Have a good night, stay safe out there in the big ol' universe, and I sure hope you had some fun tonight. See you next time, my world.
I wanna play drums with my hands and feet.
I wanna play drums with my hands and feet.
You make a lot of noise and you keep the beat.
You make a lot of noise and you keep the beat.
I wanna play piano 'cause it's black and white.
I wanna play piano 'cause it's black and white.
And I use both hands for the songs I write.
And I use both hands for the songs I write.
I wanna play the guitar and the banjo too.
I wanna play the guitar and the banjo too.
And jump around the stage like a kangaroo.
And jump around the stage like a kangaroo.
I wanna play brass 'cause they're so cool.
I wanna play brass 'cause they're so cool.
I can learn how to play at Brookline Music School.
I can learn how to play at Brookline Music School.
I love Meet the Instruments more than my toys.
I love the instruments more than my toys.
'Cause we learn about music and make a lot of noise.
Learn about music and make a lot of noise.
And we're back here on TV. This is the election night results special. We are getting the results, tabulating the results, and while we're doing that, we're staying hydrated with Olga. Olga, deal me in.
Yeah, all right. That's what I like to hear. Here we go.
Now, Olga, you voted in person today.
I sure did. To Trotsky. He was an old friend of my grandmother's.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your voting experience. So
Yes,
you went
okay.
in.
I did.
And there was a question: who should be moderator? And there was one candidate.
I know. One candidate like there is in Russia. Believe me, I blinked to make sure I was seeing correct.
Town clerk, one candidate.
I know it, Tommy.
And if I recall correctly, you live in precinct 3, so town meeting,
do.
5 positions.
Yeah.
5 candidates.
I mean,
all women.
I know us women know how to get the job done, do we not? And get ourselves voted in.
You know, all you got to do is get the most votes. It doesn't matter how many competitors, right?
I know, right? But you know what? That says something actually very beautiful about women. We stick together. We're stronger together.
And you know, if no one's running against the 5 incumbents, some would make the point that it must be that the people like those 5 incumbents.
This is very, very true. All fantastic incumbents.
And so, you know, we've already announced we've already announced them as winners.
Yes.
As you know, we're waiting for some of the results to come in.
That's right.
We're all on, you know, eggshells, pins and needles.
I know.
Lots of stress. This is the most stressful time of the night for me.
Yeah. And how do you manage your stress?
I shoot the breeze with old friends. And,
Okay.
try to stay cool under the hot
Yeah, I
lights.
know. We gotta stay cool, you know. I know it's a big night.
Now, you know, I know you're in the Olga late night off season.
Yes.
What are some ideas you've got for next year?
Oh.
You know, what are some of the topics that are coming?
Thank you for asking. Well, I do have one idea. I would love to do, maybe we can do it together, Tommy, if you like. I would love to do a USA election special.
Oh my gosh.
But not with all the votes, not all the votes, but just the fun, like ask people what they think of the state of democracy right now. That could be one. You know some of my favorite people in Brookline are the crossing guards. Even though they give you a ticket on your car when you're double parked, but I forgive them. They are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do a show interviewing, highlighting some of the incredible public servants, public officials that are serving our town that often you might not pay attention to. It's easy to take our blessings for granted sometimes.
I'm a big fan. I've got kids who go to Pierce, and so we think a lot about the crossing guards and how they help us get to school. We also I think to myself, if I owned a car, I wouldn't pay the meter on a school day at 8 o'clock because all of the parking meter attendants are crossing guards. There's no one to write a ticket.
Good strategy,
See?
Tom. See, you can go to Mike Stein. Is it Mike Steiner on Harvard Street?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
right in
not
Coolidge
even
Corner.
pay the parking.
You just got to time it just right.
Nice way to
Cash
bend the
only.
rules. Cash only. Oh,
Cash
yeah.
only at Mike's.
At Mike's, okay. See, yeah, okay.
Or the Venmo.
The Venmo, yeah. I know Venmo, very sophisticated.
I don't trust it.
Really? You don't use Venmo?
Cash only.
Really?
I'm a cash guy.
Oh, really?
You can't be too careful.
Well, it's kind of fun pulling out a crisp 100, isn't it?
I bet it would be. I work for the government. I don't carry that much cash.
But I used to, rubles exchange rate is so bad now. It's fun to carry a wad. When you go back to, I haven't been back to Russia, but when you go to, I don't know, a fun shop and peel them out.
So, crossing guards?
Crossing guards.
Election show? What else is up your short sleeves?
Well, this is very good question. Maybe also because I do feel like we live in very stressful, unique times. And I know that people can get very stressed out. I mean, for God's sake, I look at Brookline Town Facebook chat and people are upset. So I would like to do a show for good reason, much of the time. I would like to do a show interviewing maybe local people who do massage, do yoga, to highlight what we can do for ourselves as women to take care of ourselves, and men, of course.
I like it.
But we women have, you know, we have a heavy load, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I think you're right
We do.
there.
We need more massage than you. I tell truth.
Hey, I'm not disagreeing.
I mean, yeah.
So massage, yoga.
Maybe, I don't know, more vodka, God, I don't know. Tequila, you know, name me a poison.
And yeah, maybe we could do that.
Okay.
Let's think about that.
Let's think about it.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
We're going to talk off camera.
Yes.
Maybe we'll conspire a little bit.
Okay.
Folks, we're going to take another break. We're waiting for the results. A few are rolling in. We're very eager for the results, but we're going to be very patient for the results. So stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll still be here. See you on the flip side.
Hello. You are with Heather Hamilton with Brookline Interactive Group, and I am here with two of Brookline's finest young gentlemen. Gentlemen, please say your names.
I'm Alan. And I'm Leo.
And what brings you to Brookline here today?
I'm here today because Leo offered me to walk with him to his house, and he would get me an ice cream cone.
Is that true?
Yes.
What flavor did you order?
Oreo. Oreo.
That looks like a chocolate cone.
It is.
Is that true?
Yes. 'Cause it's
Where
Oreo.
where does one find a chocolate cone in Brookline?
Up at tiny. Yeah, tiny shop. Convenience store at the edge of the cone.
Is this the first time you guys have had a chocolate cone with ice cream?
No.
Do you guys live in Brookline?
Yeah. I have 2 houses.
Do you go to school in Brookline?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I also go to school in Brookline, and I also like it.
Do you know about the Green Dog program in Brookline?
I think I've heard of it. I think I've heard of it.
Do you have a dog?
No, I have a cat. The cat's about 14 and a half now.
I'm a cat person as well.
I have a dog, and I have heard of the Green Dog program, but I don't really know that much about it. The guy behind us, he's our friend, and he's also a cat person. Yeah. He's a bit shy. He doesn't like to be on camera. Oh, cat.
Do you know where to register to vote?
No. At the building, at Pierce School, but a little to the right.
The tall, ugly one.
Yes. It is very ugly.
Do you guys know that we may get a new Pierce School?
I did hear that. Yes, we might get a new Pierce School. Actually, why are we getting a new Pierce School again? Because it's really old and it's over 200.
And if you are in a wheelchair, it's really hard to get around in that school.
I'm not happy about the new construction because my brother is going to be in a different school than me then.
What would you like to see in a new school? Pool?
No, Yes.
There seems to be some controversy.
Leo, why would you want a pool?
Why would you not want a pool?
Because who swims in school? Alan, would you rather learn and have math? Oh, swim.
Math? That is a really good point. They would have to fit it into the schedule, and so you might not have to take math. Does that change your mind?
Yes.
Do you guys miss school in the summer?
No. Nope.
Do you guys know you can get married in town hall?
Yep, because I just heard someone say it.
Do you guys know if Brookline is a town or a city?
It's a town. But they're thinking about making it into a city.
Wow. Where did you hear that?
I know it.
Where do you get your news and information?
The news. YouTube. The news and YouTube. Yeah, but mostly YouTube. Yeah.
I believe that captures everything. Thank you, you young gentlemen.
And welcome back to TV on TV. It's election night. We're eagerly waiting for the results, and we've been hanging out with my pal Olga. Now, Olga, I am getting word that the results are finally starting to pour in. We're excited. Folks want to learn more about you, but I got to be honest, they also want to know who won. And so the plan is we're going to take a quick break. Then we're going to come back. I'll be at the big board. We're going to do some results, and you're going to keep us posted on when your next shows are coming out, so we make sure we advertise them right here on Big.
Fantastic. Is that my cue to say goodbye?
It is our cue to say goodbye for now.
Yes.
But I'm
Dobroj
sure
noci. Don't forget to find your why, and thank you. Thank you so much, Tommy. It was a pleasure.
Olga, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Folks, we're going to take just a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to be at the board. We're going to review some results, and we're going to bring you some fresh results right here on BIG. Stay tuned.
He wants you to not live in this world without our Father and His Son Jesus. Live in this world with Christ. Without Christ, we don't have peace, we don't have joy, we don't have anything. But I learned to say, if you knock at your door, would you let Him in?
Folks, we're back. I'm Tommy Vitolo. You're watching the TV on TV election night special results show. And finally, I'm delighted to say we've got some results. Now, to do the town-wide, we would need all of the results of all of the precincts. We don't have that quite yet. But what we do have are some results from the precincts. We've shown you some of the non-competitive ones. We're going to go look at some of the results for competitive races. So we're going to see for the first time some of the results. And we're going to start with Precinct 5. Precinct 5, right over here. Let's take a look. These are our town-wide winners with vote totals. 3-year terms, and you see Phyllis O'Leary, longtime incumbent, topped the ticket. Kevin England, Beth Miller, Omar Mabrouk, and Hugh Madison. Congratulations to you 5 on being elected. Some incumbents, some newcomers. Welcome to town meeting. Let's go ahead to 6, sort of right where the high school is, and in fact, where I'm standing right now. Here are our 5 winners. Precinct 6, town meeting, 3-year seat. Incumbent Scott Englander topped the ticket with 460 votes. Jeff Rudolph, incumbent at 438. Arthur Wellington Conquest, the 3rd, incumbent 351. 2 newcomers, Dave Porter and Ruvi Kitoff, finished up. Now, like, fun fact, these guys, their average height is about 6'5". So I'm thinking the Precinct 6 basketball team going to dominate in town meeting, led by these 3 giants. Next up is Precinct 7. That's just north of it, sort of near Park Street. And we've got 5 winners. And again, it's a mix. Let's scroll up here. Precinct 8, 3-year term. David Eber tops the ticket. Jonathan Margolis, Kelly Hardebeck, incumbents, Roberta Falk, and Ernie Fry. That's 5 folks from Precinct 7. That was a very competitive race, really a toss-up, and we've got results there. We want to go to Precinct 11. Precinct 11 is kind of Summit Ave, climbing up that hill. 3-year term, 5 winners. Congratulations to Ann Weaver, David Lescoyer, Len Woolley, Benjamin Garfinkel, and Ken Lewis. 5 winners there. Frankly, these folks did a lot of work, and I'm not surprised to see their success. Precinct 12, very competitive race. And it looks like the mainly incumbents, 4 incumbents out of the 5 came through. Precinct 12, we've got Harry Friedman, Nancy Kavanaugh, Eric McNulty, John Caron, and Lee Cook Childs. Those are your winners in Precinct 12. Very competitive race. I want to go now to Precinct 14, which is actually due south of 12. Let's take a look. Precinct 14, it was a 6-4-5, and these 5 folks worked a little more closely together. Not surprising to see them win. We've got Pam Lodish topping the ticket with 436 votes. Carlos Rerejo, 411. David Eisenberg, also at 411. Rick Fredkin, 405. Roger Lipson, 404. This tightness between these 4 candidates suggests, doesn't guarantee, but suggests that folks were voting for this whole set. Pam Lodish, having been a long-time town meeting member and community leader, not surprised to see her top the ticket. I want to actually remind folks some of the earlier races we called, just for completeness. We already called Precinct 3. That was a 5 for 5, so we knew who was going to win. We don't yet have the vote totals, but these are the 5 winners. Mary Dewar, Jane Gilman, Gina Hahn, Kathleen Scanlon, and Rebecca Stone. Let's go over to Precinct 4. Again, not competitive. This was only 4 candidates for the 5 slots. Karen Ambrose, Alan Christ, Rob Daves, and Lisa Marie Sears came in. A few more we want to just touch base. Precinct 10, we called earlier as well because it was not competitive. The 5 winners there: Scott Ananian, Catherine Florio, Dave Clafter, Connor Sheehan, and Jeremy Issakoff. And of course, there's a 1-year seat for Precinct 10 as well, so we'll go there. Jessica Lang, she's going to be the winner over there. What do we've got left? We've got Precinct 15 I want to go to. Precinct 15, also not competitive. Michael Berger, Debbie Hatz, Christine Knopf, Ira Krepchen, and Jean Sinat-Flory all emerged victorious in Precinct 15. We've still got results coming in. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, more results. So stay tuned.
This is Buddy. He is a 7.5-year-old English chocolate lab, and he's been a therapy dog for about 9 months now. There's lots of different agencies that you can work with, and they need to be good dog certified. And then you go through particular training and evaluation. We spent about 12 hours in class with lots of other dogs, simulating lots of environments that therapy dogs are involved with. And then we did a final evaluation in a store to make sure that he would not take food off the shelf, and he was friendly with people that were around us, and that he was listening to what we were asking him to do.
Just like people, dogs come in all different shapes and sizes. The Akita dog is a breed from Japan. Even since she was a little girl, Helen had loved dogs. The egg jumped. It jumped and jumped and jumped. Out came the baby bird. Where is my mother? He said. Are you my mother? He said to the dog. I am not the mother. I'm a dog, said the dog.
Our kids read to therapy dogs when they were little, and so I thought he would really enjoy this, and it's worked out great.
I am a puppy-loving Christian. Oh, puppy.
Oh.
I want a puppy right here, right now. Woof. What's that? Woof, woof. I want a walrus.
And we're back, folks, and we are still getting results. I've got a few more precincts. We're kind of grinding through them a little bit, but I want to start with Precinct 2. New results coming in here in Precinct 2. Precinct 2, of course, right along Com Ave in the northern part of town. That's Precinct 3. This is Precinct 2. And we've got some results. I want to congratulate the 5 winners in Precinct 2. Carol Gladstone, Kimberly Richardson, we got that E. Kimberly Richardson, Katha Seidman, Jim Franco, and Richard Snyder. That's Carlos Tamayo's picture and Richard Snyder's name. I think we've got Richard Snyder there. We're going to double check and we'll let you know. But we're going with Carol Gladstone, Kimberly Richardson, Katha Seidman, Jim Franco, and Richard Snyder. We will double check. I want to go to Coolidge Corner, Precinct 17, where we've got some results. Congratulations to these 5 winners. Christopher Reel topped the ticket as a newcomer. No small feat. Susie Roberts, Rita McNally, Livia Schachter-Call, and John Schreffler. Congratulations to you 5 as well. As I said, we're going to find out what's going on with that photo in Precinct 2. I feel pretty confident about it, though. And I'll just remind you, we've already called some of the townwides, the non-elected townwides. Moderator Neil Wyszynski, Town Clerk Ben Kaufman, and Library Trustees Judy Goldman, Kristen Hung, Carol Lowy, and Sasan Zelka. We've still got results coming. We just shared with you 2 and 17. I'll do a recap in a few minutes, but right now we're really just waiting on a few more precincts. Waiting on 1, waiting on 8 and 9, 13, a few more. We're going to get those results just as soon as we can. I need you to stay tuned, and when we come back, we're going to have even more. Stay tuned, folks.
My name is Megan Murphy, and I am the owner of the restaurant. We opened in July of 2019, which was a smooth couple, 6-7 months before the pandemic, which was a really fun time to open a restaurant. So myself and my partner Luke, we were managers and bartenders at the Regal Beagle, which was here beforehand. And so we were the people doing the day-to-day operations. So we have been in this space more than 15 years in this room, in these four walls. The wallpaper is kind of a fun point that I always like to think of, where I really got to feel my autonomy as a female owner for the first time, because everyone in the world said, don't choose this. It really felt like being in my grandmother's parlor, like kind of an old school vibe. And you couldn't tell if we were fancy or weird, and that's the exact vibe I'm going for. You know what I mean? Like, are you fancy, are you weird? Who knows? Come find out. You assume that you know what owning a restaurant's gonna be like, even if you work in the industry, and you don't. You just don't. You're very, the buck stops with you. There's no other place to put it. So you take everything, and there's so much love and enjoyment in that, but it's very tiring. And that's okay. Like, it's a mixed bag. And what I learned the most is that I don't know anything. I know some things about some things, but I don't know everything, and no one knows everything. And if you don't work in an environment where you get to learn every day, then like, what are you doing there? Like, I have no interest in being stagnant. Learning from other people, learning from experiences, learning from the people in the building. Like, there's that old thing about like never wanting to be the smartest person in the room, like hiring people who can do things that I can't do that. So always looking upwards and outwards, and how can we do more, and how can we be better, and really taking an input and not being stubborn and just kind of going for it. It's been a long ride opening and owning a restaurant through COVID, through the pandemic, and it was a hard time. But I keep thinking that if it was a hard time for us, it was a hard time for everyone. So if we provided some semblance of solace for people during the hardest 5 years of their life, if we made them feel anything that is connected to joy, acceptance, love, transparency, kindness, then we did our job. There's nothing more that I would like to say to this community except for thank you. It's really been an absolute joy, and I'm really proud of what we did here. I'm super proud of the community and how we take care of each other, how we speak to each other, and being part of this has really made me very happy. So all I have to say is thank you.
Welcome to Community Insight, the news that brings you above and beyond the scope. I'm Andre Hollywood Evans.
My name is Andre Hollywood Evans.
I'm Andre Hollywood Evans, and today our special guest,
Miss Yvette Wilkes. Want to welcome her to the show.
We have Padma Scott. We have Mr. Clifton Braithwaite.
You know, obviously we have to have a safe environment in school. This shouldn't even be a question.
Definitely a question that we all need to sit down at the table and start talking about it.
We'll see you again next week.
Welcome back to TV on TV. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo. We're doing the election night special results show, and the results are coming in a little slower, to be honest, than I would have liked. It turns out that we've had trouble receiving the data from out in the field. So we're making some phone calls, we're checking up on some precincts, we're finalizing some results. We don't want to give you information that it turns out is misinformation or disinformation. We want to make sure we get it right. And so that means it's going to take us a little while longer. I do have a few new results for us. I want to go to Precinct 8. Precinct 8, very competitive. This is a slate of 5 who swept through, pushing out some longtime incumbents. Precinct 8, we've got Charlie Homer topping the ticket, Bill Heineman, Daria Mark, David Titel, Nels Carlson. Now, I was out at Precinct 8 earlier today, and these folks had what I would say is the best town meeting level piece of literature I have ever seen. I was really impressed by it. Talked about it with Dave Titel for a couple of minutes. He's a marketing guy, so I'm not terribly surprised, but I think they did a really nice job. You know, these folks were on and off endorsed by several different organizations. What they had in common was their endorsement from Brookline for Everyone, and all 5 of these folks are focused on adding more housing inventory to Brookline in the short term. They live in a pretty dense part of town, and they're ready for more, and I don't think they would be shy about saying that. Precinct 9 I want to go to. We also have results in Precinct 9, sort of the other side of the street, if you will. Kathy Lola, congratulations, Dr. Kathy Lola, for topping the ticket. Sarah Kitterman, Gary Schiffman, Joe Katz, and Jerry Tuckman. Interestingly, you know, more or less, I would say that the folks on this side of Harvard Street have a slightly different view on development than the Precinct 8 folks who were just elected. These folks, in general, I'm generalizing, you know, want to see the comprehensive plan and want to see how it's all going to fit together before they commit to adding much more housing. Again, I'm speaking for them, and I apologize if I don't got it quite right, but that's the big idea. And I only say that to point out they literally live cheek to jowl. Precinct 8 and 9 are right next to each other. And so I say this just to emphasize you can't look at one precinct election in 1 year and decide what the town wants or decide what's popular. You know, some of the regional newspapers may try to extrapolate that way, but it doesn't actually make sense when you get down and you meet the people and you understand the details. These folks may have different views on housing. They may actually have very similar views on lots of other things, right? And so that's why it's so important really to get to know the folks running in your neighborhood and understand it's not just about a single issue or a single slogan. I want to go down to Precinct 16. That is this one way down in the corner. Precinct 16, sort of Putterham, the Putterham neighborhood. Let's get over there. I was down there this morning. I think all 5 of these candidates I saw this morning. Congratulations, topping the ticket, Scott Gladstone. Also, we see Elisa Jonas, Julie Jetty, Richard Murphy, and Regina Frawley. These 4 are incumbents. Julie's a former incumbent. She took a little time off and decided she missed it. And I'm so glad she did. She's a wonderful person. I'm sure she'll be a great town meeting member her second go around. I've got a little bit more for us. You remember Precinct 3 was a 5 for 5. 5 women re-elected, all incumbents. But there was also a 1-year seat, 2 gentlemen running for that seat, both of them former town meeting members, head to head. Let's see what happened there. I've got Isaac Silberberg with 228. Congratulations to Isaac. Isaac has now been, if I can remember off the top of my head, a town meeting member in Precinct 17, either 2 or 8, 3, and 14. You know, he's a young guy, and housing is expensive, and so he finds himself, you know, trying to find housing that works for him in this part of his life. Grew up in Brookline, though, certainly knows the town. I'm going to give a couple of recaps and hope that we get a few more results come in while I'm reviewing. And so I've lost track a little bit, but I'm going to go to Precinct 11 and remind folks who won there. Topping the ticket was Ann Weaver. Also, we have David Lescourier, Len Woolley, Ben Garfinkel, and Ken Lewis. Those are our winners, the 5 winners from Precinct 11. Let's go, let's remind ourselves about 14. Precinct 14, there were 6 candidates for 5 spots. These 5 generally worked together and campaigned, if not on the same piece of literature, certainly with familiarity. So congratulations, Pam Lodish, Carlos Rodrejo, David Eisenberg, Rick Fredkin, and Roger Lipson. I showed you 17, Coolidge Corner. We don't have the special in 17, but we do have the 5. Christopher Reel, newcomer, topping the ticket. Really unusual. I haven't spent a lot of time with him. I can't wait to learn his secrets and see, just how he pulls all those voters in. We've also got Susie Roberts, longtime town meeting member Rita McNally, Livia Schechter-Call, and as I mentioned, John Schruffler, another person who had been on town meeting, came off, and then came back. Now let's see. Let's go over to Precinct 6. That's where we are right now. Precinct 6 was a 7 for 5, and this is our basketball team, folks. Big height right here. Scott Englander topped the ticket. He's had a lot going on, and so he didn't spend as much time as he might have pounding the pavement, but his reputation is clearly quite strong in the neighborhood. Jeff Rudolph, Precinct 6, came in second. He was the campaign manager for the pro-Pierce campaign that was on the ballot last year. Obviously, this community goes to Pierce more or less, and very well known. Arthur Conquest, longtime town meeting member for many, many years, has spent a lot of time in the community. Dave Porter ran for town meeting once before, came up just short. Hard to believe for a 6'8" guy to come up short, but he did. Ruvi Kitov coming in fifth this year. Congratulations to these 5. I want to go to Precinct 15, just because I can say, Debbie, Hatsia left Theriitis. I think I got it right. It's fun to say it. Let's say it again. Debbie, Hatsia left Theriitis. I'm going to get it right one of these days. We're really hoping to get, we only need about 3 more precincts, 2 more precincts, and we'll have the results. So hang tight. I think I've got one coming in right now. The word is on the street we're getting it, but we don't have it yet. So while we're waiting, let's go check out Precinct 7 again. David Eber, John Margolis, Kelly Hardebeck, Roberta Falk, and Ernie Fry, successful in Precinct 7. We're going to go down to the special election in Precinct 17. Remember, there were 2 candidates for one seat. It's a 2-year seat. And Catherine Henshin came out ahead. Congratulations, Catherine. We're still waiting for just a few precincts. I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a break. And when we come back, I think we're going to have the big shebang. I think we're going to be there. So folks, thank you for your patience. Please stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
I think what makes it popular, number one, is the fact that it's an old bakery. The second thing is the eclair, because people are kind of addicted to the eclair. It's a recipe that actually came from France. You make the pâte à choux, which is the shell, and then you fill it with wonderful cream. You do that most of the times every day. And you prepare a great frosting, the white frosting, which is a good vanilla fondant. The other kind is chocolate frosted, which is partly chocolate and partly fondant. Most of the time, in a regular time, I almost make eclairs every single day because I don't have enough from the previous day. And I like them to be fresh that day. This bakery, the New Paris Bakery, or as it was called, Constantine's New Paris, because Constantine was the first owner who started it in 1919 at 407 Boylston Street in Boston, and also moved it here in 1929 and continued as the owner for a few years. I went to school and I got a couple of degrees, but my husband at that time and I discussed the possibility of maybe having a store together. We bought it in 1988, and my husband trained first. He was doing the New Paris Bakery things, and I would do my own. When he got sick from having seen all that stuff, I was able to pick up and do it, and I did it well. You're such a nice lady. Have you had these eclairs before? And I have sort of a broken vanilla. I'll give it to you. You said you have a refrigeration, right?
Yeah.
I'm going back to Greece, for one thing, taking my 95-year-old, hopefully mother there, and we'll see. Right now, I don't have big plans because I will be taking care of my mother and try to rest a little. The end of September, I'm retiring after 37 years. So a few months ago, this woman comes in and she says, I don't know if you remember me. I said, yes, I know your face. I don't remember the... She says, but the last day you and I spoke together here, you gave me a purpose in my life. I said, what? A purpose in your life? I did that? Come again, I'd like to see. I will. Tell me, how are you feeling these days? You look great.
Oh, thank you.
And you're strong and everything is good?
No, but it's how it is.
But your appetite is good?
Like my appetite.
You eat well?
Oh yeah, unfortunately.
This is a good thing. In my country, they say, if you eat, don't be afraid. All right, thanks, honey. All my life, I wanted to have my own business, to not necessarily work for somebody else. At this point, I think my interaction with the people buying products like this was great. What I have to say to the community that I really loved for the last 36 to 37 years of my life is that they have been a great group. You guys have been great in supporting a business like New Paris Bakery. And I understand they will miss me, as they say, but I want to say to them, I will miss them even more. Γεια σας, Andio, και to see you later, I'll say that in a little bit more old-fashioned Greek, en to epanidin, which means to see you, looking forward to see you again.
We're back and we have the results. It's like Arby's, only with results. The ones we were waiting on were precincts 13 and precinct 1. And once we've got those, we've got all 17 precincts, which means we'll be ready for the townwides. So, TV on TV, election night special, Brookline Interactive Group. We're going to precinct 1 with no more delays. And here are your 5 winners. Sarah Mogtatter, also a candidate for school committee, topping the ticket. Louise King, Neil Gordon, Catherine Ingraham, and with a little bit of a drop off for a newcomer, Robert Schoen. Congratulations to you 5. Of course, there was also a special election in Precinct 1 for a 1-year seat. Congratulations to Allison Gray for winning that seat. Up next, Precinct 13. Very competitive race, and these 5 worked together and swept across the finals. Jonathan Fine, John Freeman, Paul Sainer, Brian Ladd, and Tommy Rainkiss. Congratulations to the 5 of you working together. Common message, very effective, and that's on the heels of a like-minded group of 5 winning in Precinct 13 last year. That really changes the politics of Precinct 13. There was also a 1-year seat. Congratulations to Mark Gerber for winning that seat. So folks, if you're keeping score at home, we've done all of the precincts, and that means we should be ready to call Select Board, School Committee, and Housing Authority. And I'm looking to my data team for some kind of confirmation that we're ready to make the call. I want to press the button. I know you want me to press the button. I don't know what's going to happen when I press the button. So what are we going to do? Do we press it? Do we not press it? Do we press it? Do we not press it? Oh, they're working so hard for me. They're trying to find out the answer. I just want a sneak peek.
Tell me when I can circle Select Board.
What are we going to do? We've got nothing. We should have all 17. We just want to make sure we get it right, and so we're checking it out. I'll remind you, the moderator race, called early. It was not competitive. Neil Wyszynski, congratulations. Town Clerk Ben Kaufman, also called early because it was not competitive. Congratulations to you. Library Trustees Judy Goldman, Kristen Hung, Carol Lowy, Sasan Zelka, congratulations. I promise I'm not trying to build up the drama. I'm getting it. It's official. We can call them, and here we go. We're going to start with the select board, top of the ticket. Congratulations to David Perlman and to Bernard Green. Chair Bernard Green of the select board topping the ticket. School committee chair David Perlman coming in second. You see those vote counts are pretty close. I don't have the precinct by precinct data. I know David Perlman did really well here. I think Bernard Green kind of had lift everywhere. Congratulations to both of you. Let's go to school committee. Remember, there are 4 candidates for 3 positions. Congratulations to Carolyn Thal, Sarah Mogtatter, and Jesse Hefter. Really, this was a complicated race. We've got Carolyn and Jesse from down south, Sarah from the north, representing several different political views, and the voters are clear. My guess is Carolyn Thal and Jesse Hefter also did really well from the south, working their way north, but for totals like that, they would have had to have done well across town. Now finally, let's go to Housing Authority. These results are not correct. If there's only 650 people plugged in, we don't have the results in yet. I apologize. We're going to work on it. I don't have it on the board. I did get a look at the numbers. I'm nervous to announce it before we've got it on the board, so I'm going to hold off. I am going to let you know, I'm going to bring it back to the select board. As soon as we announce Housing Authority, we will take a brief break, and then we're going to have Zoom conversations live via satellite. First, I hope, with Chair Bernard Green, and next with Select Board-elect David Perlman. So we're going to be working on getting those set up while we finalize our Housing Authority results and make sure we are good to go on that. I apologize. We've got a bug somewhere we're going to work out. We want to make sure we've got the results right. I'm looking at my team, seeing how we're doing on it. We're going to keep checking it out. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a brief break. We're going to come back. We're going to announce the Housing Authority results, and then we're going to go straight to conversations with the Select Board re-elected Bernard Green and the Select Board member elected David Perlman. So please stay with us for the results on Housing Authority and for interviews with our winning Select Board candidates. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Community Insight, the news that brings you above and beyond the scope. I'm Andre Hollywood Evans.
My name is Andre Hollywood Evans.
I'm Andre Hollywood Evans, and today our special guest,
Miss Yvette Wilkes. Want to welcome her to the show.
we have Padma Scott, we have Mr. Clifton Braithwaite.
You know, obviously we have to have a safe environment in school. This shouldn't even be a question.
Definitely a question that we all need to sit down at the table and start talking about it.
We'll see you again next week.
Have a good night, stay safe out there in the big ol' universe, and I sure hope you had some fun tonight. See you next time, my world.
Folks, we're back, and you've been watching the election results special. We've called the big races. We've called Select Board for Bernard Green. It's a long night for Bernard Green and for David Perlman. We've called School Committee for Carolyn Thal, Sarah Mogtatter, and Jesse Hefter. We left having not called Housing Authority, and I'm making the call. Unfortunately, the big board isn't cooperating, so I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. Kimberly Richardson, congratulations on your election to the Housing Authority. My hope is that we'll be able to get Select Board Member Bernard Green and Select Board Member on the Zoom on satellite. We're having trouble getting through. They're celebrating. They're having a great time. We're going to track them down, and we are going to have a conversation. So again, the headlines, the highlights: Bernard Green, David Perlman are winners for Select Board. Carolyn Thal, Sarah Mogtatter, Jesse Hefter are winners for School Committee. Kimberly Richardson, our winner for Housing Authority. Those are the competitive seats. We also had moderator Neil Wyszynski, Town Clerk Ben Kaufman, and Housing Authority. Oh, geez. It's been a while. We'll get you those results, too. I don't have them in front of me. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have either Select Board Member Green or Select Board Member Elect Perlman on TV. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute.
Last summer, Big offered sportscasting camp to middle and high school students. Here, kids learned the fundamentals of sportscasting, like using professional video equipment, directing, live switching, and commentating. We are excited to have it return this summer and to soon welcome more students year-round.
My name is Miss Mary Lois Green, and I'm here to tell you good news. The news is he wants you to not live in this world without our Father, His Son Jesus. Live in this world with Christ. Without Christ, we don't have peace, we don't have joy, we don't have anything. But I learned to say, if you knock at your door, would you let him in?
Folks, we're back, and as I said, we've called all the races. I'm so glad you're still with us. I want to congratulate David Perlman and Bernard Green for winning the race for Select Board, and we have Bernard Green, chair of the Select Board, re-elected live via satellite, I think from Hamilton's Restaurant in Coolidge Corner. Bernard, welcome to the show, and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Tommy.
I apologize it took us so long. You know, we really wanted to make sure we had the numbers right. We got some that were blurry. We had some that were questionable. We weren't going to call it until we knew. Delighted for you. How did it feel out there today?
I feel great. I think that I'm also reflecting on how we got this victory. And I think it's partially...
We can hear you.
Okay. I think it's partially due to the fact that I've been in state town government for 18 years. People know me. In a certain sense, I'm notorious, and my new moniker is Notorious BWG. But in addition to that, I mean, I had a great campaign staff. Central members of which were Paul Warren, Neil Gordon, Linda Roseman, and John Doggett. And we were able to get out information consistently and at a high quality to people throughout town. And I think that was made a big difference. And then there were individuals throughout town who helped us to harvest little pockets of voters in elderly and area around the senior center, residents in South Brookline who are concerned about policing issues, residents, throughout the town who've known me for many years, such as in Precinct 7, where I first started out as a town meeting member in 2006. So, I owe this victory to a lot of people, and I really appreciate what they have done to bring this victory in and enable us to go forward and do some of the things that we've started and new things that through the campaigning I've learned that people are very interested in us pursuing.
Now, you've got a new colleague coming in, David Perlman. I know you know him through his work on the school committee. Have you had a chance to connect with him this evening?
Not yet this evening, but we'll be in touch, and we have a lot to talk about in terms of getting on the road with the select board. The fact that Dave is experienced from his years on the school committee is going to be very important. He knows some of the complexities and difficulties of running a government, and I think we'll work well together.
And do you have any sort of initiatives or new things you're going to try to roll out in the coming year in your fourth term?
Well, as you know, the Senate Ways and Means is going to give us some additional money. And one of the things that, once you and the Senate, the House and the Senate go through their budget reconciliation, hopefully we'll get additional funds for roads and transportation, which is a big issue here in Brookline. And, we're going to tackle that or continue tackling that. A number of other issues that I'm particularly concerned about is staffing in the police department. It's going to be difficult, but I think we can address that and really make a difference there. And of course, commercial development is always something that we talk about. We're looking at the Chestnut Hill area and other areas that may come available that we can develop our commercial base much bigger than it is today. The final thing that I'm thinking of that we must do is, Warrant Article 19 may be referred to the Select Board. If it is, I think we have to figure out a way of having a good conversation that doesn't turn anyone or shut anyone down, but really is structured so that we can address the traumas that different communities in Brookline are facing because of world events. That is so critical in my view because it really relates to how we work with each other on a regular basis outside of the context of world crisis. So that's one thing that I want to begin thinking about how we can address. If I can give us a commercial plug to something, on Thursday, the Rotary Club, of which I'm a member, is having a conflict resolution forum where we're not talking at all about what's currently going on in the world, but rather talking about the general issue of how do you address conflicts before they start? What type of support services, what type of mediation and reconciliation processes are useful, and what other things can be done to sort of cut off a conflict that is brewing before it starts. So, that's an important conversation to have, both in terms of so-called global issues, but also in terms of how we in this community interact and relate to each other. Around very hot-button emotional issues.
Bernard, I want to thank you for all of your efforts, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. No question, folks in town know you. This is certainly not your introduction to the community. I'm glad folks know you. I hope you didn't get too much sun today, and I hope that you will continue.
I wore a hat because I do get sunburned.
Yeah, no, it's real, and we got to be careful about that stuff.
That's right.
Bernard, thanks again for coming on the show. I look forward to working with you over the next coming years. You on the select board, me in the legislature, partnering up for Brookline. And once again, congratulations on your really strong victory, I would say.
Well, thank you, Tommy, and I really appreciate the fact that you've always been with us. You've always helped us get things through the legislature, as well as give us guidance in terms of local town matters that come up. And your support is very, very much appreciated.
Bernard, say hello to my friends at Hamilton's for me. We're going to try to tee up David Perlman. Before we get there, I do want to apologize. In our rush to try to balance between getting the results quickly and getting the results right, sometimes we do make a mistake, and we did this evening. For Precinct 3, there was a special election for a one-year seat between Isaac Silberberg and Don Lecca, and we incorrectly announced the result. In fact, the winner of that election is Don Lecca. I want to congratulate you, Don. I also want to apologize for not getting that right. And I think, I don't know, I don't know if we have the next one up. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, a super quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have David Perlman. So folks, we just spoke with Bernard Green. We're going to take a quick break and come back to David Perlman. Stay tuned.
Have a good night, stay safe out there in the big ol' universe, and I sure hope you had some fun tonight. See you next time, my worlds.
Welcome back to TV on TV Election Night Special Edition. Now, as you know, we've called the races for all 17 precincts. We're not going to do a recap of that. It would take a while. We've also called the townwides, and I'll go through all 6 of those. Moderator was uncontested and went for Neil Wyshynski. Town clerk, uncontested, went for Ben Kaufman. Select board, a contested race, 5 candidates. Congratulations to Bernard Green, who we just had on the show just a minute ago, and David Perlman, who's coming. School committee race, there were 4 contestants. Congratulations to Carolyn Thal, to Sarah Mogtatter, and to Jesse Hefter for your win. Housing Authority, 3 contestants, 1 winner, Kimberly Richardson. Congratulations to you. There were 4 library trustees who were elected, and I've got 3 at the tip of my tongue, but I don't have all 4. All 4 were incumbents. There were no surprises there. The winners were Sasan Zelka, Carol Lowy, Kristen Hung, and Judith. It's coming to me. Goldman. Judith Goldman. I'm sorry. It's late for me, too. I haven't had this a long time. Those are our 6 townwide races. We've got all the winners in. We've got the winners for town meeting in. What we're trying to do is get David Perlman on the line. We want to have a conversation with him. He is currently the chair of the school committee. Served 2 terms on the school committee, the last 2 years as chair, and he's now been elected as the newest member of the select board. Will come in with that experience, and he's going to bring that school experience to the town. Now, you might say, why is that important? The school committee does their thing, the town does their thing. Well, in fact, I would remind you that there's lots of places where there's overlap, and I'll give you an example. The town effectively owns the buildings that the schools occupy, and certainly the town is responsible for some of that maintenance. That's one example, but in a bigger sense, the budget that the schools get is decided by the town. The town meeting decides the budget for the school committee. Now, the schools will spend that money, the school committee will spend that money, but that's ultimately decided by the town. And having someone like David Perlman, who has deep experience with the schools on the town side, I think will really help the town best understand how to sort of interoperate between school and town issues. No small task. David Perlman grew up in precinct, really in Coolidge Corner, now lives in South Brookline in precinct 14. He's an attorney who works with children and families, involved with the Department of Children and Families. And what I mean by that is he works to support families who are really struggling to make things work and are interacting with state government. These are issues around custody, around adoption, real challenges. And I believe he will bring some of that experience into the town as well. As I said, we're trying to get that satellite up. We're working on it now. You know, Zoom, you'd think they'd have it figured out by now, right? But it still breaks from time to time, as it turns out, and it broke on us just a minute ago. So, you know, I would say that David Perlman is going to bring an important experience. The three select board candidates who came up short today, they also would have contributed in important ways. One of the things that made this year's election so interesting for select board was with 5 candidates for 2 slots, each of the candidates had a legitimate set of skills that are relevant. But unfortunately, no one candidate had all the skills, had all the experiences, had all the perspectives. And so the voters did the best they could to sort through what were, in fact, a long list of good choices. And I want to say that I've got a monologue teed up for later, but I'll kind of get into it a little bit now, a little bit sappy. I know it's hard to run a town-wide race or a bigger race. And for all the candidates who did, we owe you a debt of gratitude. It's tough putting your name out there. It's tough putting your name on the line. And we're better for it. Our democracy is better for it. We're still trying to get this Zoom up. We're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, I hope that Zoom will have figured out its software engineering and we will be ready to go. So folks, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to have David Perlman.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Late Night with Olga. Strasvucci!
What she said.
Bloody hell, that was loud. But let me tell you, noise doesn't matter when you've got a solar-powered vacuum cleaner, because that's what this says. The fact is, I break me back every day cleaning up the mess that my husband leaves around.
There's so much power we, particularly as mothers, have in the shopping that we do. So we can choose to purchase safer, greener products to take home to our kids, organic. We can choose to not buy red meat and pork. I mean, that industry and the amount of greenhouse gases.
The cow farts, methane, it's really, no, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I thought my ex-husband's farts were bad enough, but the cow farts, no, it's not.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Let's go over to Robin Ann, who's out and about today, to see what the men in Brookline are thinking of the menopause.
I have heard my wife mention the term a couple times, but I'm not really sure what's involved.
And folks, we're back, and we've got David Perlman live via satellite. It took us a little while to work out the technology. We're here now. David Perlman, of course, one of two of the big winners tonight, the winners for Select Board. David, do we have you? Can you hear us?
I hear you, yes. I'm sorry, I stepped outside of Washington Square Tavern, so it's a bit loud, but I do hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. David, let me start by saying congratulations. I know this was a really challenging race. It's a stressful time. You made it over the finish line, strong second place finish. How you feeling? I'm feeling great. I feel really honored that the voters of Brookline are entrusting me with the position on the Select Board. I am very pleased. It did take a lot of hard work, but I give the credit to the voters and to all the outreach efforts that they made to me, that I made to them, of course, and a lot of the important conversations that we had talking about the issues and challenges that confront us as a town. And so I'm very pleased that I was able to connect with so many people and that they decided to entrust their vote with me.
Now, David, I think this was a year where voters went with experience, and you clearly have experience, 6 years on the school committee, 2 years as chair. Tell us how you think you'll be able to use that experience on the town side to navigate school-town issues.
Well, I think it's going to be extremely helpful because, as you know, the school department is our largest municipal department with 7,000 students, over 1,000 employees, and it's a very complex budget. And having been on school committee for 6 years and on town school partnership, and also with direct experience with collective bargaining, I am very familiar with the school budget. And so I'm going to bring that knowledge to the Select Board and work with my new set of colleagues as we continue the path forward to try to resolve our fiscal challenges. And I think that the experience I have on school committee is going to lend itself very well to that.
Now, David, you not independently wealthy, young guy, you work for a living. Tell us a little bit about your professional life and how that will inform your decisions and your experiences on the Select Board.
So in my professional life, I'm a child welfare attorney. I get involved when the Department of Children and Families intervenes in a family, oftentimes removing one or more children. I represent either the mother, the father, or one or more of the children. And what I try to do is help my client resolve the issue that gave rise to that DCF intervention. And it can be a different issue each time, but some of the most common categories would be substance misuse. Sometimes it is domestic violence. Sometimes it's housing instability, mental health, educational neglect. And these are all issues that we face in Brookline as well. And so as somebody who tries to help provide the necessary scaffolding for families, I believe that that work is going to help inform what I do on the Select Board and making sure that our institutions here in Brookline are able to rise up to meet the challenges that a lot of people have here.
Now, David, you'll be the newest member of the Select Board. Are you going to go in with a big agenda? Are you going to set things straight and get things moving just so?
I like to be very collaborative and thoughtful in the decisions that I make. I try to be a uniting force. So my goal is to listen to all stakeholders, to listen to those who, including those who did not vote for me, because I represent everyone, whether people voted for me or not. And so I want to reach out, hear from people, make thoughtful decisions that hopefully everyone can get united behind.
David, you know the kind of time commitment, and maybe you'll move from Thursdays to Tuesdays. You know it's a big job because you've been doing such a big job. And do you have any particular initiatives or ideas, something you think you'd like to work on in that first year, bend the curve a little bit?
Yes, I'm very interested in working on commercial growth because I don't think we can continue to over-rely on property taxes for our residents because I don't want to be pricing people out of Brookline. And so I think to the extent that we can really expand our commercial sector, that'll be tremendously helpful. We have some great opportunities, Route 9 West and Chestnut Hill, which happens to be the part of town I represented as a town meeting member. So I'm very excited about what those opportunities could present.
David, I want to thank you for taking just a few minutes away from our friend Jerry in Washington Square Tavern to spend some time with us here on Brookline Interactive Group. Congratulations again. I'm sure you're going to do great. You've got my phone. Call me anytime I can be helpful. And get a good night's sleep because you've got some work to do.
I do indeed. Thank you very much, Tommy, for having me.
You bet. Now, folks, you've seen the results and you're still here. You've seen the interviews and you're still here. You've worked through the technical challenges and you're still here. Thank you. I hope you'll hear me out for just a few minutes before going to bed or to go hang out with Bernard or David and celebrate. This show wouldn't be possible without a long list of people. Thank you to our guests, Shayna Penna of the Brookline League of Women Voters, Brookline.News editor Sam Mintz, Town Clerk Ben Kaufman, and Melissa Hale Woodman from Late Night with Olga. Thank you to the results runners, the data monkeys, showrunner Skylar Hutchian, I'll get that right someday, and the Twin Towers of Tally, Emma Staff and Tim Wilson. Most importantly, thank you to the entire Brookline Interactive Group team. This program tonight required hundreds of hours of preparation. And if you're watching this, you've likely watched a select board or a school committee or advisory committee meeting or a town meeting on Zoom or live streamed or on television. Only possible because of Big. That isn't easy either. And Big deserves our admiration, our thanks, and our active support. The election itself was relatively low-key. We didn't have the nearly 300 candidates we did 2 years ago prompted by redistricting. Unlike last year, we didn't have a pair of tax increases on the ballot this go-round. We certainly did have a competitive field of candidates, all of whom showed us their best selves. Of course, there are local pressures that shaped our election. Ever-increasing housing prices, oft-congested and unsafe roadways, a bit of remaining uncertainty around the Pierce School reconstruction project, and the tremendous emotional toll stemming from the October 7th terrorist attacks and aftermath, including words and acts of hate right here in our town. To the people whose names I did not call tonight, thank you. Thank you for running. Thank you for raising the issues that matter to you. Thank you for registering voters, for increasing turnout, and for believing in our democracy and our town. I hope this isn't the last of your participation. There are countless boards, committees, and commissions, and I know your talents would be welcome there. And perhaps I'll get to read your name on this show next year. To the people whose names I did call, the folks who filled the 101 elected positions today, congratulations on your win. Sleep well tonight, for along with the 191 electeds who weren't up for election today, you've got two enormous challenges ahead of you. You've got to help our town through our challenges with schools, with transportation, with housing and development, with social services, with parks. That's one tall order. You'll also need to do it together. The divisive rhetoric on social media and listservs and regional news agency headlines and in some town meeting candidate flyers may rally the like-minded, but it will not bring us to good decision making. The second challenge our locally elected leaders face is to govern gracefully, to give grace to others, even when tongues and elbows have been sharp, to gracefully respond with openness and kindness, even if others haven't seemed kind, and to navigate the town meeting, select board hearings, school committee conversations, and all other government go-rounds to create robust, broadly supported decisions and actions with enough patience to hear from the public, but without the delays caused by analysis paralysis. Brookline, you're a great town, and I'm so proud to be on the team. Good night.
Hello, Brookline. We hope you have enjoyed this live program on Brookline Interactive Group's cable channels. It was brought to you by our member, Tommy Vitolo, who has a show, TV on TV. We want you to know that you too can create a show at Big. Become a member, sign up online, and watch our orientation videos to get started. Big is your nonprofit community cable channel, now open Tuesdays through Thursdays from noon to 8 p.m. Please stop by. We are located on the top floor of the Unified Arts Building at Brookline High School. Take a class on using our studio or camera equipment, or hire us to staff a birthday party in our 25-person theater, or shoot a paid production for your community group, favorite cause, or special event. Thank you, and we hope to see you in 2024.